Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today I'm taking a look at STARGRAVE, science fiction war games in the Ravaged Galaxy, the much anticipated follow-up to Joseph McCullough's Frostgrave. Now, before I dive too far into this, I want to address something that came up a whole bunch in my DMs and actually on my Facebook page when this showed up in the mail, and I posted a picture of it because I was super excited about it. Where people were asking me if I was going to address this being a reskin of Frostgrave. And I'm going to do that right now and just get that out of the way. Because, yeah, it's a reskin of Frostgrave. Of course it is. It's called STARGRAVE. It's as much a science fiction version of Frostgrave as Warhammer 40,000 is a science fiction version of Warhammer. If you weren't expecting that, I mean, it's called STARGRAVE. It's in the name. Of course, this is a science fiction version of Frostgrave. And that's what people have been asking Joe for 5 years. I'm pretty sure every time Osprey's put out a science fiction title since Frostgrave released, people have asked in the comments, so is this it? Is this Frostgrave in space? Is it finally Frostgrave in space? When do we get Frostgrave in space? Here it is. It's Frostgrave in space. That's it. Issue over. To say that having Frostgrave in space is not what people have been asking for 5 years, it would be like an indictment of every science fiction follow-up to a popular fantasy game. Yeah, you wouldn't have Warhammer 40,000 without Warhammer, and this is the exact same thing. This is, you know, basically like crews of adventurers having adventures in outer space, much like crews of wizards and soldiers and knights having adventures in a frozen city. It's got really familiar, comfortable mechanics, runs in the same kind of core system, and let's just dive into that right now. Have a look at the sort of like MacGuffin setup for the galaxy, which is the last war, which wiped everybody out, and yeah, and like look at building a crew and playing a game. So let's crack it open. Much like the previous version, Frostgrave, you have a wonderful preamble in here. Joe and I share a really common philosophy on how to write miniature game books, or even just game books in general, and his process is a lot like mine. So we go from the introduction, like, what do you need? Collect all this stuff. We do this in the order that we would do it in real life. Your miniatures, your dice, your table, terrain, crew sheet, and templates. And then chapter 1, assembling a crew. So making your captain, the dude who's gonna lead everybody. His background, choosing his powers, their stat line, their level, and any gear they're gonna be carrying. Then the first mate. The first mate is kind of like the apprentice in Frostgrave, but different in that they can have a totally different background from the captain themselves, and totally different stat buffs because of it. What level they start off is also important. And then the soldiers. The soldiers can be recruited, and any of those soldiers can be robots, which makes them robots. Then you got temporary crew members. They can come and go, possibly in a scenario. Someone could join the warband. And then general equipment, how all the equipment that they can be equipped with works. Then chapter 2 is the rules, so setting up the table. Hey look, we've made a crew. Now we're gonna put things down on the table. Select the table edge, place all your loot, and then the game itself, so playing the game. The turn, activating, moving, fighting, shooting, extreme results like crits and weapon jams. Your different damage types, so things like being stunned, wounded, and toxins. And then finally the powers that you can use, and these can be everything from shooting mind bullets to being real good at ninja fighting to disappearing into the shadows. These are all very familiar for players who played Rangers of Shadow Deep, same kind of idea. How they work, the cost of using them, and the activation numbers and stuff too. Then collecting loot tokens, the creature actions, how the creatures work, and then ending the game. Chapter 3 is campaigns, so playing linked scenarios to go together. Chapter 4 is all the different powers, their activations and stuff. Chapter 5 is the scenarios themselves. There are 10 in the book. And then Chapter 6, the bestiary, all of the different kind of gribbly monster archetypes that could be in a science fiction game. And then finally the credits, the crew sheets, power cards, templates, and quick reference. So here's our MacGuffin. Incoming transmission. In a galaxy torn apart by the last war, vast pirate fleets roam from system to system, robbing, extorting, and rounding up slaves. Any attempt to form any kind of central authority larger than a city-state is quickly and brutally crushed. In this dark time, the only way to survive is to stay small and inconspicuous. You can't take the sky from me. Amidst this chaos, however, thousands of independent crews manage to carry on their business. Smugglers, relic hunters, freedom fighters, and mercenaries roam the dead stars in small ships, scratching out a living any way they can. There we go. This is STARGRAVE. What do you need? 28mm models, between 25 and 32mm bases is recommended. You need some D20s, you need a table, 3x3 to 4x4. You could go as small as 2x2 if you want. Terrain, some will be defined by the scenario, but for the most part, just appropriate to the planet you're playing on. Your crew sheet and your templates. Now, it does use some fairly standard templates just to give you a look. I'm sure that there will be a gajillion little independent companies making templates for Stargrave tomorrow for everybody to get their grubby little mitts on. But if you've got a 4-inch and 3-inch blast template, so a 2-inch and 1.5 inch, I'm pretty sure everybody's got one of those. That you might have if you played 2nd edition 40K. And then this little guy, which is the teardrop template for the flamethrowers and stuff. And then finally your crew sheets, which are also in the back. All right, so assembling a crew. First things first, find some coolest toy soldiers. That makes sense. And also look at this art. How cool is that? Oh, I love the art in here. Who's the artist again? I should actually have credited them at the beginning, but I skipped that page, didn't I? Art is by... Nobody in particular, doesn't seem to say. Joe McCullough. He is the dude. And I don't see a specific artist credited. Maybe it's all in the art itself. I don't know. Maybe it's the back. Acknowledgements, maybe in the back here. I'm gonna feel bad now if I've skipped it over. Hang on. What page was acknowledgements? There was an acknowledgements page. And it's credits, 161. 161. There we go. Artwork. There we go. Helgi C. Balzer, Michelle Giorgi, Sam Lamont, and Paulo Pugioni. Sweet. So yeah, assembling a crew. Let's jump back in. Creating a captain. So your captain is super important. They're the person who leads, obviously, your plucky warbands, the Mal, if you will, the Han Solo, whoever you want it to be, really. They can have any kind of background you want. They don't have to be a pirate. They could be a kind of space wizard. They could be a veteran soldier. They could be all kinds of things. And those MacGuffins will come out in a second. And that's picking your background. So the background, you could be a biomorph. Biomorphs are, think of them as like, able to like control their own bodies. They can make themselves have like an adrenaline surge. They could be like juicers from Rifts. They could be almost like space marines even. They have the ability to like, fight better or control their bodies to fight better. And once you pick your background, so let's say I want to be a biomorph, each captain can pick 5 powers from the powers list. And then 3 to 4 of them have to be from the core powers. Up to 2 of them can be for any other power you want. So you can customize this guy quite a bit. When you pick your power, you pick a stat mod, and they'll be listed what kinds they can have. So a biomorph always has +1 health and can choose 2 of the following, but they can't be the same. +1 move, +1 fight, or +1 shoot. Now you do have a core stat line later on that you'll get adding to. Let's just look at it now, because then you can see. Your move is 6. That's how many inches you move per turn. Fight +3, that's what you add to a dice roll in melee. Shoot +2, what you add to a shooting roll. Armor 9, wounds 3, and health 16. So you'd be health 17 base, and you could become fight 4, shoot 3 if you want, or go to move 7. And then your core powers to choose from, you have to have at least 3, but you could have 4. Adrenaline surge, armor plates, camouflage, fling, regenerate, restructure body, toxic claws, or toxic secretion. So you could basically make yourself a space marine if you wanted to, or you can make yourself a tank from Space Above and Beyond, or any other kind of like, vat-grown Goliath from Necromunda, whatever you want. Cyborg, that's exactly what it sounds like, fusion of man and machine. Can have +1 health and choose one of the following, or sorry, 2 of the following, +1 move, +1 fight, +1 shoot. A lot of these are the same. Core powers for him, camouflage, control robot, data knock, energy shield, power spike, quick step, target lock, or temporary upgrade. And obviously, I'm not gonna go through every power later on. They are basically what they sound like. A mystic, so they could be a cultist, a monk, something that rhymes with bread-eye. You're gonna get +2 will, +1 health, and choose one of the following. +1 move, +1 fight, +1 shoot. And their core powers are control animal, dark energy, heal, life leech, mystic trance, puppet master, suggestion, and void blade. So all things that could make you a better fighter, make you, this is not the droids you're looking for kind of dude. Robotics expert. Stat mods +1 will and choose one of the following, 2 of the following, sorry. +1 move, +1 fight, +1 shoot, +1 health. Their core powers are control robot, create drone, electromagnetic pulse, remote firing, remote guidance, repair robot, and rewire robot. So all to do with like robots. And you could obviously have robots in your crew that then those powers could enhance if you want. A rogue, haha, a scoundrel, if you will. Someone whose name rhymes with Bolo. Stat mods, +1 will and +1 health. And choose 2 of the following: plus move, plus fighter, plus shoot. And then core powers would be bait and switch, bribe, cancel power, concealed firearm, data jump, fortune, haggle, and quick step. Now, you'll notice the core powers are there to kind of make it so that you can only stack certain powers in the beginning. There's like 40 plus powers in this game. And the core, requiring you to take 3 to 4 from that core list, kind of themes your character by demand in the beginning, and then you can slowly learn new powers as you go on. But this is a great way that Joe's put in to make it so that you can't just mod stack the best powers all together to make some kind of like super ultra mega death person. You've got to kind of pick a theme for your captain and go with it. A psionicist, someone that uses mind bullets and can kill a yak from 100 yards away. The stat mods are +2 will, +1 health, and choose 1 of the following: plus move, plus fighter, plus shoot. And their core powers are break, lock, destroy weapon, lift, sonic fire, psychic shield, pull, suggestion, and wall of force. Pretty sure my Inquisitor Toulon Hess is going to be a psionicist. It makes sense, he's an Inquisitor. I am, by the way, using this game as a reason to get all of my collection of Rogue Trader miniatures painted from the 80s and early 90s and play the campaign I've always wanted to play on Logan's World, for those of you who know what that means. A Techer, you know, the last veteran of the Tech War, Bill Shatner's magnum opus. Stat mods +2 will and choose 2 of the following: plus move, plus fight, plus shooter, plus health. Core powers are anti-gravitic projection, data jump, data knock, data skip, drone, electromagnetic pulse, holographic wall, and transport. Think of him like the techno version of an illusionist. I mean, like he's like a Decker from Blade Runner or Burning Chrome, or you know, any of those things. Or Neuromancer, sorry. And then a veteran, obviously a military veteran. This is your what's his name? Rogue Trooper Johnny Alpha. Stat mods are plus fight, plus health, and choose 1 of the following: plus move, plus fight, or for a total of +2, or +1 shoot. Core powers are armory, command, coordinated fire, energy shield, fortune, power spike, remote firing, and target designation. This is probably going to be my second in command, my first mate. He's going to be a veteran of the Mighty Guard. And so choosing powers, now that your captain has a background, you choose the starting powers. You get to choose up to 5 powers, 3 through 4 of which must be from your core list, and 1 to 2 can be from any power in the game. As the captain participates in the campaign, they'll gain new powers and become better at using the powers they have. And there's their stat line, which we already went through. Stat mods, before writing your captain's stats on the crew sheet, refer back to the description of their background. Some backgrounds have specific stat mods and can change them and stuff. Split stats will need to be recorded in 2 different values. There's the effective stat and actual stat. The effective stat can change basically based on like your injuries, which could be healed, or your armor and stuff as well. Level, all captains start at level 15. So this is the one part that might be unfamiliar to Frostgrave players, but very familiar to players from Rangers of Shadow Deep, or Shadow Deep, sorry, Shadow Deep? What's wrong with me? I've had too much coffee today. So the leveling in this game is at a fixed rate in a fixed way. So you level a certain way at level 1, a certain way at level 2, a certain way at level 3, 4, 5, 6. So all captains are considered to have stats included at starting at level 15, and they'll level from there. So they'll get a level 16 stat increase the first time they level up. This is a clever way of not allowing you to dump levels into certain stats, and we don't end up with Owen making Red 2.0, which was his wizard from Frostgrave first edition, that was, you know, fight 25 or whatever when she was completely stacked with stats. And it'll be familiar to Rangers players. We'll go through it a bit in the campaign section. And then gear, captains have 6 slots for carrying gear. Starting captain can choose any gear from the general equipment list, which we'll get to later on. There's no cost for any of this, and during a campaign, you can change up your gear basically however you want. Armor can also take up gear slots, so that's why you get an extended slot count compared to some other games. And then your first mate, occasionally called number 1. The first mate is the captain's right-hand being. It's the first mate's job to oversee day-to-day running the ship. So, the first mates are, you choose a background. They have a core stat line just like everybody else. They can have a different background from the captain, or the same if you want. Their core stat line is movement 6, fight +2, strength +2, sorry, shoot +2, strength. Armor 9, will +2, and 14 health. All first mates start at level 0. And they get 4 starting powers, 2 or 3 from the core powers, and the remainder from the rest of the powers, basically. Now, they're not as good at activating powers as the captain is, so they have to add 2 to the, all the core power, like activation numbers, the TNs, and 4 if it's not one of their core powers. So it's a little less good. So, and also, sorry, the captain adds 2 to the non-core powers. Core powers are easier to activate. They're like your school in Frostgrave. And then recruits your soldiers. You get 400 credits. No gold pieces here. It's all universal credits. And some are free. So you're always going to have 10 soldiers to follow you around. Even if you're totally broke, you can always find like some recruits or whatever to come with you. And then you do have, just like in Frostgrave, specialist soldiers. You can have up to 4, and standard soldiers, you can have as many as you want, up to 8. So what do we got here? Now, these are all archetypes, okay? And I had no problem at all taking my Rogue Trader collection and immediately finding an archetype to fit all of these. A recruit, he's just a basic thug, right? He's free. Fight +2, shoot +2. He's got a pistol, which is a 12-inch range gun, light armor, and a knife. Runners, movement 7, basically a thief. Fight +2, shoot +1, armor 9. Their will +1, and 12 health. They're also free, the pistol and a knife. So the faster but less armored version of the recruit. Then a hacker. He is move 6, +1/+1, armor 10, +1 will, 12 health, and 20 creds. He's got a deck, which means he can do the interact actions for computers and stuff. Pistol, light armor, and a knife. A chiseler, which is kind of like, I don't know, like the dudes who help you like get your tech back. It's almost like a salvage operator. Move 6, +1/+1, armor 10, will +1, 12 health, and he's 20 credits. Pistol, picks, light armor, and a knife. Picks have a special ability. Guard dogs. Not necessarily a dog. Guard pet is what you should think of this as. This is a science fiction game. Anything you want. If you want it to be a Gyrinx, have it be a Gyrinx. If you want it to be a Jakaro, have it be a Jakaro. Although the Jakaro should probably be like something with a gun, because you can use his weird digital finger lasers. Movement 8, fight +1, shoot +0, armor 8, -2 will, 10 health, and then he's 10 credits. He's an animal and can't carry gear or loot. A sentry, which is like a fighty soldier. He's got a carbine, heavy armor, and a hand weapon, so he actually fights really well. He's fight +3, shoot +2, armor 11, +0 will, and 14 health, 50 creds. Most of my dudes who don't have rifles are going to be sentries. Troopers, the opposite. So shoot +3, fight +2, armor 11, and health 14. The heavy armor movement mod obviously is built in here. And they have carbines, heavy armor, and knife. So not as equipped for close combat, but they can shoot a lot better than the sentry can. And then finally a medic. He is move 7, because he's got to get there and help people. +2/+2, armor 10, +3 will, and then he's health 14. He's got pistol, light armor, and a med kit. And he's 100 credits. He's spendy. So he's your most expensive, not like standard soldier. And then specialist soldiers, you kind of have leveled up versions of most of these. A codebreaker, so like a leveled up hacker. He's got a carbine, deck, light armor, and a knife. Better fighter all around. Case cracker, he's like a treasure hunter. So carbine, picks, light armor, knife, he's a leveled up chiseler. Commando, carbine, grenades, heavy armor, and a hand weapon, like a leveled up sentry. And then pathfinder, carbine, grenades, light armor, and a hand weapon. And he's like +3/+3. He's faster, but lighter armored. I do like the commando a lot, though. I might actually use my guy as a pathfinder, I think. I have a dude who's a ninja. Maybe he'll be a commando. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Heavy armor and hand weapon. He's too... I don't like that he's slow. Maybe I'll use him as... that. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, snipers. Carbine, light armor, and a hand weapon. And they're 100, but they're +4 shoot. Grenadiers have a grenade launcher. Soldiers with grenades carry both smoke and frag grenades and may choose which type to use at any time. A figure carrying grenades is assumed to have as many of either type as they need for a given game. Burner has a flamethrower. Gunner has a rapid fire, which is like a heavy, like rapid fire weapon, like a like a Gatling gun. And then finally an armored trooper. That's your power armor guy. He's 150 credits. So 100 for all these, 75 for the top 3. And he's the dude that has combat armor and a carbine. So combat armor includes a bunch of other equipment too. Like by default, it has like a respirator and stuff, and a hand weapon and a pistol like built into it, because it's just assumed that like it comes with that stuff. And he's also carrying a carbine. He's your super trooper, but he costs to upkeep too. Soldier gear cannot be changed, much like in Frostgrave. You have to have what you have. And if you buy a leveled up version of it, it not only replaces the version of the base gear that you have, so like if you find like a relic like carbine, it replaces that carbine. It also eats up your 1 gear slot. So if you're giving non-standard gear, you can give them 1 thing. If you're leveling up their gear, you can't stack the... You used to be able to do this in Frostgrave. You can have a +1 hand weapon to replace their hand weapon and then still give them like a potion of invisibility or something like that. Can't do that in this. It eats up their gear slot too. And then finally, robots. You can define anyone in your crew to be a robot. It doesn't change their stat line at all. It's just considered that now they have the robotic ability. It means they're immune to things like the poisons and stuff like that, toxins, but now they're susceptible to things too, like robot control and a few other things. Temporary crew members, they might happen in your scenarios and stuff. And then it provides about aliens, is these stat lines should represent anyone. So I have aliens in my crew. I have, well, abhumans, I have squats and stuff. Might have a beast man eventually, right? All kinds of cool stuff. Don't worry about if they're aliens or not. If they're roughly human-sized, then they fit into this game. General equipment, decks, you get +6 to your rolls to unlock data loot. Now this is important. Your loot counters in this game, unlike in Frostgrave, don't just sit there waiting for you to pick them up. You gotta unlock them, you gotta get them out and moving. And the deck lets you do that. Filter mask lets you, not have to get like choke gassed, or you can ignore things like low oxygen and stuff. Medkits. Can spend an action to attend to any figure within 2 inches, provided that neither one's in combat. They're either immediately cured of toxin, recovers from stun, or is no longer treated as wounded, unless it loses additional health later. The medkit has no effect on robots, and there's no limit to how many times it can be used. So you can remove like bad status effects. It doesn't heal you, but it means all those bad status effects can be taken off basically during the game. Picks, it's a common slang term for a toolkit. You get +6 to your rolls to unlock physical loot. So data loot and physical loot are 2 different things, and each of these things is good to unlock them. And then weapons, if you're unarmed, you're -2 fight and -2 damage. Knife, you're just -1 damage. Hand weapon, you just fight as normal, and that doesn't matter how cool your hand weapon is, because you have to be trained how to use it. So power fist is the same as a sword. Pistols, they're your, awesome like shootout thing. It's got a 10-inch range and no damage mod. A carbine is a 24-inch range and no damage mod. A shotgun is a 12-inch range and a +1 damage mod. A rapid fire gun, when making a shooting attack, you can either make 2 shooting attacks at separate targets that are within 2 of another, or 1 shooting attack with +2 damage. So you can drill all your bullets into one guy, or you can shoot different targets. And this figure has 2 actions available. You can use both of them to make 2 shooting attacks at 2 different targets that are within 2 inches of another, both with a +2 damage mod, which is crazy. But a rapid fire weapon takes up 3 gear slots and has a maximum range of 24. You're also -1 move, unless you're wearing heavy armor or combat armor, which has a support harness. Frag grenades, basically you have to throw at a target point on the ground, and then once you hit, everything takes a +3 attack. It's not like the grenade spell in Frostgrave. And then smoke grenades, same idea, you have to roll to hit, and then it creates a cloud effect, 4 inches wide and 3 inches high, and you can't see through it, blocks line of sight, but it dissipates on a 1 to 5 during each game end, and takes up a gear slot. Grenade launcher just increases your grenade range to 16. Flamethrower, use a template, and then your different armors. Light armor gives you +1. Heavy armor gives you +2 but -1 move. Combat armor is +4 armor, and then it also counts as carrying a hand weapon, a pistol, and a filter mask as they're integrated into the armor. But before any game starts, you have to pay 50 credits for each suit of combat armor on your crew. Otherwise, they don't show up, and you're replaced by a free recruiter runner. They just don't. They can't deploy, and so they don't come. And then finally, a shield takes up a gear slot, and it offers really no benefit. There are, however, some advanced technology and alien designs that are useful, and they'll be, if you find them, explained later. And there's our summary for all the weapons and gear. All right, set up the board. So this is a lot like playing Frostgrave, 2x2 to 3x3 table. Once all the members' edges of corners have been assigned to a player, the player that chose first should place all the members of their crew within 2. And at least 6 inches away from any other table edge. If using corners, all members of the crew should be placed within 5 of a starting corner. And then you place loot. So loot only gets placed after all the crew are down, which I think is cool. So once all the figures are on the table, it's time to place loot. The acquisition of these is the main objective of a game of Stargrave. Loot tokens come in 2 types, data and physical. Players should be easy to identify which is which. So you're going to want to have 5 of each token, depending upon the game you're playing. To start with, place 1 loot token in its exact center, and then roll to see if it's physical or data. It's 50-50, so on a 1 to 10 it's data, on an 11 plus it's physical. No figure should be able to draw line of sight to the token without first making a move, so you should be able to see it when you place it, and it should be in a hard to access area. Then, starting with the player that placed the figures on the table last, the players should take turns placing other loot tokens. Each player must place 1 data loot and 1 physical loot, so you don't roll for that one. A player may place, actually, so I guess you only need 3 and 3 of each. No, you need 1, 2. No, yeah, you need 3 and 3. You need 6, because the central one could be either, and then each other player would need 2 of each. No, you need 8. Yes, because there should be, each player should have 2, 4, and then, no, you need 6. That's right, there's 5 on the table. Okay, I'm an idiot. I can't, my mind is melting. 3 of each. And then they should be placed at least 6 inches away from any other loot token, anywhere on the table. And remember to count, where is it? So, place 1 data loot and 1 loot token, anywhere as long as it's over halfway across the table from the placing player's starting table edge. So, if you're playing on a 3-foot table, it's 18 to the middle. It has to be over 18. So you're placing the ones in your opponent's half of the table, and they're placing ones in your half of the table. That's a big quality of life improvement over Frostgrave, where everyone would just place it 9 inches out and then run and get it in the first turn and run back out. So you're placing each other's loot tokens, basically. And then it's divided into the turn sequence. So initiative, both players roll, and then the high roller gets to be primary player. There are some things that can trigger on your roll as well, so be mindful of what you roll when you roll. Each turn is divided into 4 phases: the captain phase, the first mate phase, the soldier phase, and the creature phase. This is exactly the same as Frostgrave. Captain's a wizard. He can group activate up to, I believe it's 3 soldiers within 3. Then the first mate does, same thing, 3 within 3. Then all the soldiers get to go. The first mate passes the soldier phase, and the creatures go last if there's any uncontrolled creatures on the table. The soldier phase, after the first mate player comes the soldier phase, the primary player activates any remaining soldiers, and then these are activated 1 at a time in whatever player they wish, and the secondary player does the same. And when you activate, you get 2 actions. One of these actions can normally only be a move. The other action can consist of a second move, fighting, shooting, using a power, or any of the special actions listed elsewhere in the book. It does not matter if a figure moves with its first or second action. For example, a figure may fire a carbine, then move, or move and then use a power, whatever order you want. Just a reminder, when activating soldiers in either the captain or first mate phase, it's those soldiers within 3 of the captain or first mate at the beginning of the phase and not the end who we get to activate with them. In any case, a figure must perform all of its actions before any other figure is activated unless using group activation. When you group activate, you all move first, and then all do your actions. Stat rolls, whatever it is, there's a target number, and you roll and add your mod. Automatic success and failures and maximum bonuses. So a 1 is always a failure. A modified roll of 20 is always a success. So there's always a possibility of doing it no matter what. Movement, anytime a figure takes 2 or more actions together, they can move and move again, just like in Frostgrave. Figure facing doesn't really matter. Obstructions, things that block line of sight. Figures are allowed to climb or move over any obstacle at a cost of 2 inches for every 1 inch of move, or a partial inch of height. And then rough ground. Rough ground is any kind of ground that looks difficult to move through. You move at half rate, basically. Forcing combat, if you come within an inch, you can snap to and end a move with one of your guys if he's not friendly. And then bad guys who are uncontrolled always force combat. Run for it. When a figure is activated, but before taking any actions, it may declare it's going to run for it. A figure may immediately move up to 3 inches in any direction, ignoring all movement modifiers. After this move, its activation ends. A figure may not move within an inch of an enemy. If they do so, this rule is useful for figures that would otherwise be reduced to almost no movement, such as a figure suffering from toxins attempting to carry loot through rough ground. A figure may not use this rule if it activates in combat in deep water or is entitled to no actions whatsoever. So that's a nice new addition from this game only that's not in Frostgrave or Rangers. You can always move 3 inches. You can always just drop everything, not do any other actions, and move, and just run. I think that's awesome. Jumping, falling, swimming are going to be familiar anyways, played Rangers. And then combat. So this is a very similar system to Frostgrave. You're both going to roll d20s, add all your modifiers, and the winner does damage. And there's a maximum, this is interesting, the maximum armor stat is 14. So whatever you've got for gear, you can never be higher than fight for armor 14 now. Once a winner has been determined and any damage inflicted, the winner of the fight has a decision to make. They can either have the 2 figures remain in combat, or they can push back either their own figure by 1 inch, or this moves them 1 inch directly away. And it's not affected by rough terrain or anything that's like going to slow you down, but you can't push back through walls or other barriers. It's possible for a figure to be pushed over an edge in this manner. No figure can force combat on a figure that's pushed back as a result of the combat. A figure cannot force combat unless an opposing fighter that just pushed it back, or that pushed back into combat with it, unless the opposing figure subsequently moves closer. So this is really different. In Frostgrave, you can only push back 1 enemy after a fight if you win. In this one, you push yourself back and you can actually leave combat. So if you're surrounded, you can just go whoop and get pushed back. Now, if you're surrounded completely and have nowhere to move, probably you can't, but it means you can get away and nothing's going to force into you. Multiple combats, it's the exact same sequence as in Frostgrave, so who can support and who's canceled out a bit like Blood Bowl. And then shooting, range line of sight, and it's a fight versus shoot test, almost exactly the same as in Frostgrave. Slightly different modifiers of shooting, so modifiers are always applied to the target, and they're based on what's happening. So for each piece of intervening terrain, +1 mod, hasty if they moved previously, +1, clear jam, +1 fight if they declare a jam during their activation, light cover, +2, so if they're contact with solid cover like rocks, walls, or thick woods. If they're stunned, +2, the target is currently stunned. Heavy cover, +4, the target's in contact with solid cover that obscures more than half, and then a large target, -2. So these are all fight mods for the person being shot at. Shooting into combat, it's legal if risky move. A figure can target any model in combat it can see, but it's possible to hit a figure that's not in line of sight of the shooter. So it's not possible, no. Where it can see at least one figure, that's right. It shoots into combat if you can see one figure in the combat, and it could hit anybody. If the shooting attack generates an area effect weapon, such as grenades, do not roll for random target. It just affects, if it affects at least one figure in the combat, roll a separate attack against each figure in the combat. Shooting a flamethrower, making a shooting attack with a flamethrower, instead of checking for range or line of sight, just place the template down and make a separate shooting attack against every model that the template touches. Only solid cover will be applied against flamethrower attacks. Throwing and firing grenades. The shooter makes a TN12 roll, taking into account all these modifiers. So if the target point's in line of sight, it's +2. If it's hasty, if you moved already, -1. If you're firing with a grenade launcher, it's -1 automatically, because that is the increased range, basically. And then you do the grenade explosion from the point that you pick if you hit. If not, then if you miss, move the target point in a random direction, a number of inches equal to the amount by which they failed, to a maximum of 6. So use the top of the D20, roll it, and then it goes the difference that you failed by to a maximum of 6 inches in that direction, and that still goes off. So no grenades not exploding. Crits, whenever a figure rolls a natural 20 on a combat or shooting die, that's the number of it being a 20, you get +5 damage and automatically wins. If they both hit, they both do damage as normal. If a target in a shooting attack rolls a natural 20, then the shot misses, even if the fire rolled a natural 20. So yeah, you do bonus damage. And it's a figure, so everybody does crits in this game. Weapon jams, if a figure making a shooting roll does a natural 1, they've run out of ammo or their weapon's jammed, and they can't shoot until they spend an action servicing their weapon. Jamming roll only applies to the first shoot roll in each flamethrower attack, and only in the initial shoot roll when making a grenade launcher attack. Does not apply to grenades. And then damage, whenever a figure takes damage, whether from shooting or any other source, the amount of damage is subtracted from the figure's health total. If they go to 0, they're killed and removed from the table. And then stun, whenever a figure takes 4 more points of damage in a single shooting attack, this is a new thing, including flamethrower and grenade attacks, it becomes stunned. Essentially, the figure has been badly shocked by the attack and has probably collapsed. The figure's only immediate thought is to seek as much cover as possible. Mark the figure as stunned, either with a token of some sort or by placing the figure on its side. It's kind of like pinning in Necromunda. Since the stunned figure is devoting all of its effort to maximizing use of cover, it gets +2 to fight rolls against further shooting attacks. The next time this figure activates, remove the token or stand the figure back up. It's no longer stunned, but receives a maximum of 1 action. So a lot like pinning in Necromunda, you're going to lose an action, but you're going to gain bonuses to being shot at for the remainder of your activation if you get hit, and take 4 more points of damage. Wounded, you drop to 1 action, and robots never subject to it. If you have 4 less health. Toxins. If a figure takes 1 or more points of damage from a toxic source, it's poison reduced to 1 base action. Sorry, and wounded, this 1 action can be any the figure normally take and doesn't have a modifier, but you're also -2 to all dice rolls for that one. This one's just 1 action. Powers, captains and first mates may use an action to attempt to activate a power. The figure may activate a power while in combat. There's no limit number of times specific power can be used. And the figure also gets to make a free power move. To activate a power, the player makes a TN roll versus whatever the TN of the power is. After an activation roll is made, but before the result is determined, a captain or first mate may choose to exert. Essentially, you can trade health to add to the activation roll. So basically, that's going to allow you to take damage up to 3 to make the power activate. And then strain. Some powers cause immense physical or psychic strain. Whenever a figure activates a strain power greater than 0, it takes damage. So you might always take damage from your powers, and you can take additional damage to make sure they succeed. And then power move, whenever a player declares they're using a power, spend action to use a power, they can also make a free 3-inch move. So it means that powers don't just like keep you from going anywhere. And this move may be made before or after the power is used. And it's subject to all normal modifiers and stuff. And it can't be used to replace other actions that you'd normally be able to replace with the move action, like clearing a jam. Canceling powers. If power has an ongoing effect and no duration, the power lasts until the end of the game. Powers cannot be turned on by the activator unless the power specifically gives them that ability. Same with targeting figures in combat. You must randomly roll to see which one's which. Collecting loot. All right, so collecting loot, you have to do a TN14 will roll to try and either unlock it if it's data or open it up if it's physical. And that's why the picks and the decks become important. They add bonuses. This becomes an 8+ instead. This is way different from Frostgrave, where normally it just happens automatically and you spend an action to do it. You can only carry 1 loot token at a time. If it's data loot, the figure suffers no penalties for doing so. If it's physical, though, your move is halved and you're -1 fight and -1 shoot. You can spend action to drop it as well, and also to pick it up afterwards. Loot tokens never block line of sight, provide cover, or impede movement until carried. And then creature actions. Are they in combat? Yes, they fight. If it wins the combat, it will choose to stay in combat. If a creature is in combat with more than one opponent, it will attack the one with the lowest current health. Is there a crew member in line of sight? Yes. If the creature is armed with a missile weapon, it will shoot at the closest eligible. It will take no second action. If it does not have one, it will move towards the closest visible figure, climbing any obstacles as necessary. If it reaches a crew member with its first action, it uses the second one to fight. Some scenarios have a target point or random movement. It'll dictate which one's which. And then ending the game, it can end in several ways. If the last loot tokens move up the table, then the game's over. All figures are still on the table or seem to make it safely home. Another way is if only one player has figures left, then you roll for each unsecured loot token on the table, and on a 15+, they get the people still on the table can take it home. And then we got campaigns. So check for injury or death, use out of game powers, which you might have, calculate experience and levels, roll for loot, and spend loot. This is going to be very familiar. So 1 to 4 is dead for soldiers. 5 to 8 is badly wounded, they miss a game. Or sorry, they actually don't even miss a game now. They start at half health in the next game. And then 9 to 12, 20, they get a full recovery and they're ready to go for the next game. Captains and first mates, only a 1 to 2 is dead. Only a 1 for captains. They get to add +1 to the result if they want. And then 3 to 4 is permanent injury. 5 to 6 is a badly wounded. 7 to 8 is a bad call, close call. And then 9 to 20 is full recovery. So dead, you're dead. Permanent injury, you roll on the table. Badly wounded, the captain has a choice. Either pay 100 credits for medical treatment or 50 if there's a medic in the crew. If the captain does not have the money, then the captain may not spend any credits until the debt's fully paid off. If they can't pay it. If the fee's paid, the figure starts the game at next full health. Close call, you lose all the gear you were carrying. Items from the general equipment list are replaced for free, but you lose all your special gear. And then full recovery, the fighter's injuries prove relatively minor and you come back as normal. Same permanent injuries as in Frostgrave. Lost toes, smashed leg, crushed arm, lost fingers, never quite as strong. Psychological scars, lingering injury, smashed jaw, and lost eyes. They can kill you though, because if you get 2 lost eyes, you're dead, because there's no Jordy LaForges apparently in this game, unfortunately. I would just get a bionic eye. Experience and level. So this is where it's going to vary quite a bit from Frostgrave. You can see here, the experience earning is fairly similar. You're going to get 30 for each game played, 30 if the crew had at least 1 figure reduced to 0 health, plus 20 for each crew loot token unlocked by the crew, plus 10, and that's unlocked, not taken, plus 10 for each power successfully activated to a maximum of 100, plus 10 for each member of a rival crew reduced to 0 health, maximum of 40, and plus 5 for each uncontrolled creature reduced to 0 health. Maximum is 300 per game, and then each time you improve a level, you can do so by spending your experience. For every full 100, you can convert for either the captain or the first mate. So the first mate does not automatically level up, right? You have to pay for him separately from the captain, and you get to choose which to do. So you can see here at 1, 11, 21, 31, 40, all the ones basically, you can lower an activation number on a power. On 2s, it's improve a stat. On 3s, it's lower an activation number. On 4s, lower an activation number. On 5s, new power. So once every 5 levels, you can learn a new power. 6, lower an activation number. 7, improve a stat. So there's only 2 improved stats in the whole thing. But in 9, you can do new power or improve a stat. And that's going to repeat, basically, until you get to level 60. You can never have, your stats are capped, basically. Move 7, fight 6, shoot 6, will 8, and 25 health. And then count your loot. So this is going to be pretty familiar. You can get credits, you can get information that are worth credits, advanced weapon systems and advanced technologies, secrets that are worth credits, alien artifacts, more advanced technologies from the different tables, advanced weapons, trade goods, and they're just worth credits and stuff too. And then so those are all going to have their descriptions. So like cool pistols, +1 damage carbine, right? Cool shotgun with +1 shoot. They have a buy-sell value, just like Frostgrave. Different advanced technologies, advanced technology deck, like a better deck, nanosurgery kit for your medic, jump pack, right? Surge battery, robot repair kit, frag grenade, or frag armor, sorry, which protects you from grenades. Antitoxins, psychic shields, all these have descriptions in here, and they're a lot like the magic items in Frostgrave, but from space. And spending loot, you can hire new soldiers that you didn't, like they're not your free ones basically. You get a new captain if they die, get a new first mate. If the captain dies, I don't think you have to pay for him though. No, you don't pay for anybody. If a crew loses their captain, you can either promote the captain or get a new one. The first mate, immediately gains 5 levels and gets an improvement based on their improvement type per level of table. Warband will need to recruit a new first mate as detailed below. And if you lose the first mate because they're killed or promoted to captain or removed, you should immediately recruit a new one. There's no hiring fee. Yeah, they're free basically if they die, but you lose your stuff that you've accumulated. And then you can sell your items if you want, and then buy new items too. You can improve your ship, kind of like improving your base in Frostgrave. Advanced medical suite, armament workshop, communications array, external cargo pods, extra quarters, meditation chamber, robotics workshop, and weapon locker. And then the optional rules for balancing scenarios. So the difference in levels can give you rerolls for the course of the game. Powers. So the name of the power, its activation number, how much strain, how much damage it does to you if you do it, the category, and then a line of sight. And so things like Adrenaline Surge, it's activating on a 12, takes 2 damage to do it, on yourself only, get an additional action. Oof, and additional action in your next activation too. So for 2 damage, you can get 3 actions, 2 turns. Well, I guess it's, yeah, because you've already done the action to do it. So you've moved, free moved, and done your power, and then you get another action afterwards to like shoot, and then next turn you have 3 actions again. Armor plates, get +2 armor. Break lock, immediately unlock a physical loot counter. Right? Camouflage. No figure can draw a line of sight to this figure if it's more than 12 inches away. In addition, it gains +2 fight when rolling against shooting attacks from pistols, carbines, shotguns, or rapid-fire attacks, but is cancelled if he becomes stunned. A concealed firearm, controlled robot, right? Create a robot. Your player can add a robot salvage to the crew for no cost. That's the one I want. Gonna make robots. Gonna get my warbot. Dark energy. It's like a shooting attack, data jump. This power only targets a member of the same warband that's carrying a data loot token. The player can immediately move the data loot token carried by that figure to another member of the crew, provided they're in line of sight of the activator and within 8 of one another. How cool is that? So you can hand off treasure with a power. You can fire a drone, you can be lucky, haggle with people when you sell things, lifting things, like all psychic powers and stuff, healing, puppet mastering people, regenerating your 3 points of health. That's a good one. Restructure your body. The activator gains one of the following traits: amphibious, burrowing, expert climber, immune to critical hits, immune to toxins, or never wounded. So you're Odo from Deep Space Nine. I mean, why not? Target lock. The activator may make an immediate grenade or grenade launcher attack as a free action against any point in range, does not need line of sight. The attack automatically hits as intended. If this power is used during a group activation, then the grenade or grenade attack can only be made by another member of the crew that's within 1 inch and was part of the group activation. That's awesome. Toxic Claws, Walls of Force, Void Blades. So all kinds of powers. I'm not going to go through all of them, obviously, but there's enough in here that you can customize your favorite pirate captain model to be whoever you want him to be. And then scenarios. All right, exactly the kind of space skullduggery you would expect from a game like Stargrave. Botch Deal, Salvage Crew, Steam Vents of the Undercity, Data Vault, Sky Mine, Broken Fence, Starport Raid, the Derelict Warship, the Overgrown Factory, and the Fire Moon. All of these can use the optional creature list to do random encounters and unwanted attention. These depend. If you're in the wild, it's random encounters. If you're in a civilized or like populated area, it's unwanted attention. You don't have to use these though. These are optional ways to add to things, and the scenarios themselves can often have monsters. So the Botch Deal, for instance, will automatically have ruffians that will just show up. So you don't have to use these at all. And it means that there's actually, to play in like a city sort of location or like a village or whatever, you don't need that many models. So this is one where the bestiary is a lot easier to get ready, I think, probably than Frostgrave was, because you just need like 3 ruffian models, a shock trooper pirate, and a couple pirate troopers, and that's it. So 2 pirate troopers, 3 ruffians. You need 6 models basically to use this table, and you'd be totally fine for every encounter. The pirate shock trooper is basically a big like bad space marine. A ruffian is basically just like some kind of techno barbarian or like gunfighter or whatever, and then a pirate trooper is just, you know, a bad dude with a rifle. There's also the bounty hunter who can show up. I'm gonna use an Eldar Ranger for my bounty hunter. It's gonna be awesome. And then for the bestiary, you've got like all kinds of just almost like I'd call them archetypal aliens. There's descriptions for all of them. There'll be universe models for all of them. It looks like they're going to do miniatures for them actually from North Star. Those looking a lot like gnolls with guns. And what else we got here? Some lizard folk from the lizard folk kit from whatchamacallit, from Ghost Archipelago. And this will give you a nice little like bestiary to warp out. So if you are excited to do like a bestiary, you want to play in the wild, play in the desert, or in a jungle, or like some kind of moon or whatever, there'll be plenty for you to sink your teeth into. But I like that there's kind of like a simple and complicated bestiary for the random encounters, or you can just skip it all together and then just play with what's in here. So like the botch deal, for instance, all of the loot tokens, 2 of the loot tokens on the table get a ruffian placed next to them, which is just like the random bystanders in town when the deal goes bad. Salvage Crew, there's like a crashed ship you're going after. Steamboat's the Undercity, there's a sewer dragon. Mine's gonna be an amble. Data vaults, you're going in for some like illegally stored data. A sky mine, it's like tilting out of the sky. It's kind of like it's kind of like Lando's sky whatever city. Broken fence. Quiet Plastro planet. Something's gone horribly wrong. You realize there's creatures coming after you. Feroxes are attacking you. A starport raid. Derelict warship you're going after. Overgrown factory. It's like abandoned. There's cool stuff there. And a fire moon with scientific stuff on it. And then you got your quick ref here at the back for all the, you know, the different like special rules that all the creatures can have and stuff. And then credits, your crew sheets, which I'm sure there'll be lots of cool ones that people will make in the Stargrave group. Cards for your powers, which, you know, they did it for Frostgrave separately. Maybe they'll do them for this game too. And a quick ref, which is super handy. And that's it. Stargrave, science fiction war games in a ravaged galaxy. Man, I'm pumped. I've been collecting random classic Citadel space adventures for a long time, and this is just the game. I love Frostgrave. We played the hell out of it. And getting my favorite part of the hobby is the getting ready to play part, and what this did for me when I cracked this book open was made me go to all of my boxes of old miniatures and start digging through to try and find the appropriate stuff. So you want to check out On the Paint Table today. You can see my first warband I put together for Stargrave. It's all classic 80s Citadel like 40k Rogue Trader minis. And I'm going to set it on a planet actually in Rogue Trader is my plan, which is Logan's World, and we'll see more of that in the future. So anyway, big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews, and of course Stargrave coming up soon. Till then, I'm Ash. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below to get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.